just recently, 2 weeks ago, made the decision to quit my job to pursue full-time content creation for a possible living. So recently I was given a recommendation to document my experience of just like what this is going to look like for somebody who's kind of like me, who just walked out of a job, feels like they have a dream of something else that they want to do and is wanting to pursue it, knowing that it is incredibly risky and that there's not a lot of there is a safety net there, but there's no stable safety net there. And so I have the idea of trying to create vlogging content of just so people can also just like hear my story. My hope and my goal is that this is something that is inspiring, or at the very least, you can hear out my story to see like, if this is something that you may be interested in doing. My name is Brandon, and I wanted to take y'all on a little bit of a journey, and I hope that you are interested in going along on this journey with me. But before we get into any of that, I want to backtrack just a little bit and talk a little bit more about who I am and all those kinds of things. I am a 31-year-old African-American male. I'm originally from Arkansas. I felt like for a long time that there was not much else outside of the walls of Arkansas because I had always been there, and I always aspired for something bigger and something greater than where I was, but I just didn't quite know how to get there. I think a big reason why I didn't really know how to get there was because growing up was a little difficult. I looked to kind of fill that void when I was growing up with video games. I'm a humongous video gamer. I am a huge Nintendo nerd. I have played every single Nintendo console. I have dozens upon dozens upon dozens of video games, and it has been almost like my lifeblood growing up. Thinking back to like my past, I am somebody who I feel like I learned a lot of life lessons the wrong way and the hard way to get me to the point to where I am now. I was always like the scholar kid growing up. I was nicknamed Einstein in the church that I grew up in when I was younger. I was always like the person who like always had his head like in the books, like, studying, writing notes, making sure that everything was like where it needed to be. I was never the type of person that was like on the streets or doing anything that I shouldn't have been doing or anything like that, because I wanted a future for myself. I wanted to go back to what I was saying a bit earlier. I wanted to see more outside of the walls that was Arkansas, because at that point in time, this is like my youth, my teenage years. I feel like I didn't really know a lot outside of the place that I called home. I was told that education was the way to go beyond, for lack of better wording. I got a degree in finance, but while I was getting a degree in finance, I was also very interested in higher education. When I was an undergraduate student, I was also an RA, a resident assistant, which essentially means that I was a person who was responsible for like a certain amount of people that lived in the dorms. I did programs for them, like really, really fun, cool activities. I am super thankful for being an RA because I think that I learned so much about life and about myself that I didn't get to learn when I was younger, when I was growing up in Arkansas. But it was around that time that I was told more about higher education and more about how you could have a profession in helping other people and essentially doing the thing that I was doing already, helping others, doing really cool and fun programs, and like really like getting to know people for who they are. I was told that I could like essentially have a profession in that. So like I said earlier, I ditched my opportunity to be like a financial advisor, and I'm so thankful for my experiences in higher education. I've been there for 10 years at this point at 4 different universities. And it's the same kind of like, bell whistle, the same song of I've been able to do a lot to help others. One thing that I haven't talked about with all of this is that in the midst of me like working with college students for years and being able to like essentially fulfill a goal of like helping so many people, is that while I was doing that, I was having a blast. Like I love everything that I got to do. I love working with so many students. I love working with all my coworkers. Was having a blast, and I don't want anybody to think that like this is me saying like, oh, don't ever work in higher education, because it's not the case. But one other thing that was happening while I was doing all this is that I was I given a recommendation to start streaming. I mentioned a bit earlier that you may know me from Twitch. If you look at twitch.tv/B_RandonTV, I have a pretty decent foundation there. But while I was working, I was essentially told, like, Brandon, you love video games. Like, why aren't you streaming this experience to other people? I compare myself to other people all the time. And so it's very easy for me to say like, oh, well, like, you know, that person's like already like doing that, so I probably shouldn't even bother because like they already have it covered. When I was younger, I never really considered the idea of like streaming my experience like to other people. But I had one friend that kind of, he shared the concept of streaming to me in a way that made sense in my head. He said to me that streaming could be your way of also helping others. Because sometimes with streaming, it's not always about the video games, it's about the person that's streaming them, or it's about the community that is created through the stream, or there's a lot of other, like, you know, side effects, I suppose you could say, or a lot of benefits that happen through streaming in general. Like, you can create a great community of people that like some of the things that you like. When I heard him share streaming in that way, that is what kind of inspired me to like really start kind of looking into this and thinking like, you know, maybe I can do this. Like, maybe this could be a way for me to like meet other people. It could be another way for me to like help other people as well. And it could be another way for me to just like have a voice that I just never really thought that I would have. And I want to be able to just have a opportunity for people to just feel at home. So while I was working, while I was doing all this, all the things within higher education, I was also streaming, and it's actually very similar to, it's very similar to like how I changed my trajectory from finance to higher education. When I kind of thought to myself like, oh, I kind of like higher education more because I get to help other people. Once I started streaming, I really began to think to myself, like, I really like this. Like, this is something that I love to do. A lot of people have told me before, like, you are really good at like entertaining others. You're really good at like creating a comfortable environment. I've heard like your voice is soothing, and I'm like, okay, thank you. I've heard a lot of different things that just make me think like, I wish that I could invest more time into this. Everybody knows, like, you know, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, like all those kinds of things. And you've seen so many people out there that that have their own like brand of content. And like, you know, everybody has like some kind of like idol that they look up to, or some kind of person that they may follow, or some inspiration that they have, or whatever that may look like. And while like, as I've been streaming, I've been thinking more to myself of like, I kind of want that for myself. I want to be able to be that inspiration or be that whatever for other people. I feel like my platform so far has been able to allow me to do that because I have so many people coming in saying, Brandon, oh my God, I love your streams. Like, when are you going live again? Like, oh my gosh, you're so great. Like, I love that. But it came to a head a few months ago when I was truly thinking about how I looked at my following, and I looked at I'm not a huge numbers person like anymore, but like I was looking at my analytics and I was like, I'm doing pretty good. Like I'm doing a pretty decent job here. So I was doing that all the while I was having so many like, I don't want to say negative thoughts, but I was having so many not so great thoughts about my job because I wasn't doing the things that I enjoyed doing as much or anymore, excuse me. in my job. When I accepted the promotion that I mentioned a bit earlier, most of my day-to-day operations turned into like paperwork, or turned into emails, or turned into essentially the things that I did not really enjoy doing. Granted, the things that I did supported them in the long run, but I wasn't having like conversations with people. I wasn't saying like, hi, how are you doing today? Like, is there anything I can do to help you? Like, what's going on with your life? Can you give me any updates? Like, those kinds of things. Because I just enjoy getting to know people. All the while this was happening, learning about higher education, learning about the job that I had, and streaming, and learning about how awesome it was to stream and to create this platform. One of the things that another one of my mentors shared with me when I was younger was to make sure that you don't ever lose your livelihood. And that's something that has stuck with me for a long period of time. And I feel like I was kind of learning the hard way. The further and higher I was climbing up this chain of higher education, the more I felt like I was losing my livelihood. It was around November that I had a very crucial moment that happened in my life that made me think I need to give myself like an ultimatum, because there's been so many times where like when I make choices in life that I would always choose based on other people and not myself. And I had told myself, maybe this could be an opportunity where you choose something for yourself and not for other people. I've always been the type of person that would rather choose a safer option over a riskier option. But I also think that the times that I've chosen a safer option have benefited other people more than it's benefited me. Whereas the riskier option could benefit me when it needs to benefit me. The ultimatum that I feel like I kind of gave myself an ultimatum. I said, Brandon, you're not enjoying your job. You're not having a good time with what you're doing anymore, but you are having a great time and you're seeing some great success with the thing that you do enjoy doing. So why not devote more time into that? And so it was on December 21st, 2023. I worked my last day in the field of higher education, walked out of my job, and told myself, Brandon, maybe you should take this as an opportunity to really try giving content creation a try, and see just like what happens. I'm thankful to say that like I have a pretty decent like backing and safety net to be able to like walk out of a job and, for lack of better wording, not have anything lined up for the future. And so I told myself like I'm going to take at least 1 full month like off of working a traditional 9-to-5 and devote as much time as I can to content creation, to streaming, to making a following on social media, to so many different things that I can. To see like, is this something that I would want to continue pushing towards, or not? It's become one of my biggest dreams to do this. It's become one of my biggest dreams to be able to say like, I am helping other people through the content that I am putting out into the universe, whether that's me playing a video game or me playing or me just talking to people. I am very thankful for the amount of support that I have behind me, and I hope that through like content like this, I can continue to amass more support as we continue unraveling just like what it means to be a full-time content creator of some kind. So I will be announcing some additional projects in the future through VODs like these, but right now, what you can expect to see from me is a mix of stream highlights from the different streams that I will be doing on Twitch. Once again, you can find me at twitch.tv/b_RandonTV. The content that you'll see here is going to be a mix of like highlights from those streams if you're not able to catch me live. And then another half of the content will probably be like IRL, like vlogging style, like just things that I am doing to help further my dream of becoming a full-time content creator. Regardless of what happens, one of my really close friends shared with me that you should take an opportunity to document everything. And I am incredibly nervous to do this. He could tell you, I am incredibly nervous to do this. But I've been given the recommendation to try it because at the very least, like if it works, great. But if it doesn't work, at least you have like some kind of documentation. You can look back on this. And I think that's something that I'm very interested in doing, is regardless of what happens with this platform, is that I'll be able to kind of like look back on this and just see like where the future takes me. But plan B, in case that does not work for whatever reason, is while I'm doing all this, I will still be doing like a very limited job search, just so I have like at least a little bit of stability, all while the ideal solution would be that if I do like find a stable like, you know, job or whatever, that it's not as emotionally or mentally taxing as the job that I left, where I could still feel as if I can dedicate time to doing things like this on a more consistent basis. Because then at that point, my plan B will then kind of hopefully evolve into plan A if plan A doesn't work on its own. So regardless, I hope that you are interested in joining me for the ride. If you like content like this, I hope that you take the opportunity to let me know by either liking, commenting, subscribing, following, whatever makes the most sense on whatever platform you might be watching this on, and share it with others. Definitely share it with others, especially if you happen to be, or if you happen to know anybody that is in a similar boat to me. May not have had the best upbringing as a kid, feel like you kind of learned life on the fly, still kind of struggling with a lot of the identities that I hold. I didn't really talk a lot about being gay or being black or those identities within the gaming and entertainment world. But if you have any friends or any other people that are just, you know, in a similar situation, I hope that you find an opportunity to share this with them so they can also see that they are not alone. If any of the things that I shared with you today vibe with you, then I want to talk to you more about that. I really appreciate your time for joining me on this journey, but just know that we are just beginning, and I hope to be back with you really, really soon with another update of just like what's going on in my life. I want to thank you again for your time, and I hope to see you really soon. But for now, peace out.